In recent weeks, a disparate trio of politicians have contributed to reanimating the European debate in the United Kingdom. Three politicians in question are Rachel Reeves, Donald Trump, and Sir Ed Davey. Since she became Chancellor, Rachel Reeves has lost no opportunity to claim that growth was the overriding objective of her government. Growth would solve the political, the economic and social problems of the United Kingdom, and any regulations or any practices that stood in the way of growth had got to be swept aside. One stunning absence from this list of barriers to growth in the United Kingdom was Brexit. It was only very recently that Rachel Reeves even condescended to talk about Brexit in the context of the United Kingdom's economic future. And then what she had to say was extraordinarily self-contradictory and inadequate. Most commentators who have viewed recent utterances on growth have drawn attention to what they call the elephant in the room, by which they mean relationships with the European Union. It will be an obvious and appropriate way in the short term, not in the 2030s or 2040s, to improve economic growth in this country, to re-establish an integral economic relationship with the European Union. Stung, I think, by this criticism, Rachel Reeves said that she herself recognised the economic damage done by Brexit, but it was time to move on. And like many politicians, when she said time to move on, she didn't mean time to move on. She meant the absolute opposite. She meant it was time not to do anything about Brexit, to imagine that it was set in stone. There was absolutely nothing that could be done to reverse it. Now, this isn't an economic calculation. This is a political and electoral calculation. And I'm afraid throws doubt on the claim of Starmer and other Labour leaders that they're taking decisions in the interests of the country rather than the party. The Labour Party is afraid of Reform Party, and they don't want to appear to be too pro-European, and that's why they have their red lines, and that's why they're not going to be able to pursue the economically rational policies of much greater association and integration with the European Union. The second person who's contributed to the European debate, albeit unwittingly, is Donald Trump. There's been talk whether Trump is serious about the implications of some of the things he said concerning Greenland, whether really the United States will be prepared to use military force in order to detach Greenland from Denmark. Mr. Macron apparently takes it seriously enough to be willing to offer French military assistance to the Danes in the case of an invasion. But whether this is entirely serious or not is beside the point. The discussion very well illustrates the approach to international affairs that Donald Trump has always had and the people who support him have always had. It's essentially an anarchic view that the strong do what they can and the weak have to suffer what they must. That's not the basis on which the European Union is constructed. The European Union is constructed on a very different basis of the rule of law, predictability, rights of small nations, the injustice of big countries being able to bully smaller countries. It's something that the European Union was set up to avoid. And it's understandable that Mr. Trump finds so distasteful the whole idea of the European Union. Keir Starmer and his colleagues hope that they're not going to have to choose between the European side of the argument and the Trumpite USA side of the argument. I think this is a vain hope. I think that very, very rapidly the rhetoric which has been employed by people like Musk and others concerning the supposed Islamization and woke decadence of the United Kingdom, the accusation that Keir Starmer is some sort of dictator, will come to be reflected in American policy. And then the United Kingdom will be faced with the question, whose side is it on? Is it on the side of Trump and his allies, or is it on the side of Europe? It's illuminating that the opinion polls make clear that Mr. Trump is not at all popular. During the 2016 referendum, there was a certain section of the Leave vote that wanted to use Brexit as an opportunity to turn the United Kingdom into something more like the United States. That was a very unpopular view, and it was kept under the lid. People who were running the campaign didn't allow much play to that. But these people are now coming back, particularly through the Conservative Party and Reform. They don't represent the British public opinion. And I think that Starmer will come to realise that he's backing a loser if he thinks that he can be equidistant between Trump and Europe. The third person who's been contributing to the debate in recent weeks is Sir Ed Davey, who has clarified Liberal Democrat policy by saying that the United Kingdom should join the customs union. Well, that's a very welcome beginning along a road which leads to Rejoin. But it's not a road that leads to Rejoin ineluctably. The thought that Britain, well, the United Kingdom, will gradually rejoin the European Union by joining the customs union, free movement, joining the internal market, A, is something that will take a very long time. B, I'm not sure that the European Union would be prepared to endorse this cherry picking. And C, it doesn't deal with the real issue of British membership of the European Union, which is that the European Union is about common decision making, shared values, an integrated market, and political integration. That doesn't mean what people sometimes think of as being a United States of Europe, but it does mean greater political integration, and certainly in the defence field, which many people in this country, I think, would welcome. I've always taken the view that the European debate, particularly the European debate as far as Rejoin is concerned, was like a potential avalanche. We haven't seen that debate unfold in full force yet, but I think on the high hills, on the mountains, the avalanche is building up, and it won't take very much, a few more incidents like the ones that I've been describing, for this debate to get into full flow. The Rejoin EU party hopes obviously to contribute to this debate, but our specific contribution is in electoral politics. We will be standing in elections in the hope of showing the established parties that there are votes to be won in pro-Europeanism and votes to be lost in anti-Europeanism. Please go to our website to find out more about what we do. But above all, if you have the opportunity to vote for us in local, regional by-elections, please take that opportunity. Votes are the currency that British politicians understand, and we want to make them understand that the votes for the pro-Europeans, for pro-European policies, are much more influential and much more numerous than they normally assume. So vote, and it's the Rejoin EU party that we hope you'll be voting for.
Vote Rejoin EU. Join the EU vision.